Remember what I said last month? It went something like, I read too many contemporary romances last month. I will never read contemporary romance again. Well, I might have gone back on that a little bit. Hi, my name's Bea and welcome to my channel, Mama Needs to Read Romance, and reconsider what she said about contemporary romance. Hello and welcome to my end of the month wrap up for February. I did my mid-month wrap up a couple weeks ago, and I will have that linked in the description box and also at the end of this video in case you want to see what else I read in the month of February. I read 9 contemporary romance, 2 of them were magical realism. I read 7 fantasy romance novels, 5 of those were alien romance, and I read 5 historical romance books for a total of 21 books in the month of February. 2 books were 6 stars, 10 books were 5 stars, 4 books were 4.5 stars, 1 book was 4 stars, 1 book was 3 stars, and 3 books were 2 stars. I was all over the place this month. I also got to read 4 new to me authors: Stacy Reed, Elena Armas, Kara Tanamachi, and Holly James. I am now huge fans of Stacy Reed and Elena Armas. I'm gonna take it from the top here. My 6th star. This is a reread for me, Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I reread this in preparation for the book that's coming out in April, Yours Truly, which I have the ARC for. I was insanely excited to start it, but I wanted to reread this one first. And since I physically read this one back last summer, I will, by the way, link my top 10 books of the summer above because I talk more about this one there. But I went ahead and I listened to the audio this time and I had even more fun. The narrators were fabulous, especially Zachary Weber. I have a narrator crush on him. He is tremendous. He actually was crying during some of it and it made me cry. I was making my children's lunches and crying into their lunch boxes. This is a great book about a doctor named Alexis who ends up in a small town randomly one day and falls for Daniel, who is 10 years her junior. He's the mayor of his town. He is the biggest cinnamon roll hero. Abby Jimenez is just one of my very favorite narrators of all time, and I so enjoyed listening to this and falling in love all over again. Now let's jump to a 5 star. This one was really perfection in my mind as well. A Memory of Summer. This was a novella by Grace Draven as part of the Wraith King series. It is set during their winter solstice celebration, sort of like our Christmas. Grace Draven does it again. The winter scenes are just beautiful, and we have Emerence. She's given up on the idea of ever finding love. Well, one day, for lack of a better term, gypsy is probably we would know them. They come into town, and one of them is Gwerus, who is 10 years younger than her. So there we are, 2 books in a row that I love where the hero is 10 years younger than the heroine. That's kind of funny. Gwerus is very taken with Emerence, and they have some cute flirtations going on, but nothing really happens until after one of the evenings of the festival, which was absolutely magical. She was nervous, and I loved that he kind of slowly helps her come around and get comfortable with him. They have a beautiful scene in a winter garden before he has to leave. I'm hoping that we will see these characters again in The Nomus King, which is an upcoming novel in the series. Please, Grace Draven, let me know that it will happen because I need more of these 2 characters in my life. Another 5 star read that I enjoyed so much, Book 8 of Ice Planet Barbarians, Barbarians Taming. This one had it all. We have a forbidden romance between Maddie and Hassan. Hassan actually kidnapped Maddie's sister Lila in the last book, so he's exiled, and yet Maddie feels a kinship with him. Neither of them really has a place in the community, and they're both feeling lonely, and so she reaches out to him and is very glad that she does because he very much is interested in her. And I loved this. Maddie is very much an alpha gal. She's a full-figured lady at that, and she is all about her curves, and I loved seeing that too. This was a really exciting book. There were things that happened that I didn't even know could happen in terms of angst and things going wrong on the planet, and then revelations, discoveries that were made. I don't want to go too much into it in case anybody wants to read the series because man, do things really start taking off in that 8th book. This one broke all the rules and I was so excited to be along for the ride, and I cannot wait for more. Oh man, okay, so you've probably heard me gush about this one too. The Wolf and the Wildflower. I picked this out of NetGalley just on a whim. It sounded somewhat interesting. I had no idea I was going to love this book as much as I did. It took all of the historical romance conventions, just threw them right out the window. I'll link above my 3-minute review in case you want to see what I already said. I'm going to try not to just repeat myself. We have James Winters, the Duke of Wolverton. He was lost in the wilderness of Canada for 10 years and then he was rescued. And he is kind of feral. His mother is freaking out because this is going to ruin their family. There's scandal already brewing about this guy, and she needs to make him ready to hit out in society as soon as humanly possible. So she hires a psychiatrist, essentially, who brings along his son. Now, the son's name is Jules Southby. Jules Southby, though, is not actually the son of the doctor. Jules Southby is a daughter. That's right. Jules has been raised from birth as a man. She's gone along with it because it has protected her own mother, and she's feeling isolated and alone, as does James Winters. Well, there's a first scene where Jules goes to shake James's hand. Not that he wants to shake anyone's hand because he can't stand being around people or society in general, but Jules trips on a rug and James catches her and he smells her neck like in this really wild way and knows immediately that Jules is a woman and is attracted to her, and the feelings are reciprocated. This book was incredible. I was so spellbound. I thought I was going to read this over like 10 days. I read it in like 2.5 days. I couldn't stop reading it. You could feel the freedom that they experience when they're with one another. And I don't care what they're doing when they're together. No matter what, the scenes were popping off the page when those two were together. The chemistry was off the charts. And I had no idea what was going to happen. And I'm really glad I didn't know. It was such a great ending. I was crying. I was laughing. I was whooping and cheering. It was such a good book. I don't know how I've never heard of Stacey Reid before. Many of you have told me what an incredible author she is, and I just have been under a rock, I guess, but no longer. I am a huge Stacey Reid fan, and I cannot wait to read more of her soon. And I have one more 5-star to tell you about. It's another Ice Planet Barbarians, by the way. Book 7, Barbarians Touch. We have Lila, who is newly on the planet, and her sister Maddie, who I mentioned a moment ago. Well, Lila is kidnapped by Hassan, as you may have heard me mention a moment ago. Hassan's hoping that Lila's going to resonate to him. He's so lonely, and he thinks, well, if I kidnapped her, we would fall in love, essentially. And no, that doesn't happen. Lila is terrified of Hassan. To make things way more complicated, Lila is deaf. She had a cochlear implant that the bad aliens removed, so she can no longer hear anything, and she is terrified. Enter Rokan. He is a very sweet, as always, cinnamon roll hero, and he is on the lookout to find her. He has a sixth sense, by the way, so he has a way of knowing things that no one else knows, and he finds where she is. He kidnaps her from the kidnapper. Then they resonate. She doesn't understand what resonance is. Once she realizes there's a symbiote in her body that's sort of making her want to be with him, she then turns away from all the feelings that she had been starting to feel for him. And of course, he felt very cast aside. She's basically changed her mind and said, now that I understand what resonance is, I don't know if any of this is real. I don't know if our feelings are real. Well, he has a chance to prove himself later in the book. And she does come around and they realize that their feelings are 100% real, resonance or no. But I loved seeing him learning sign language for her and helping her understand that no matter what, she is a beautiful, perfect human being just as she is. I just loved the themes of this story. So 5 stars. So here's my first 4.5 star, and it is the arc that I've been super excited about, Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. It was near perfection for me. I loved almost all of it. We first meet Dr. Brianna Ortiz in Part of Your World as the sassy best friend. Well, now in Yours Truly, it's Brianna or Bree's turn to find love. And at first, we don't know if it's going to work out because Dr. Jacob Maddox, who's just started working in her ER, she feels like he is the enemy. Well, this guy is one of the most cinnamon roll hero-y heroes I think I've ever read. He actually looks into donating a kidney to her brother, but he doesn't even want her to know because he doesn't want her to be swayed by that. He's very shy. In fact, he has an anxiety disorder, and I really appreciated Abby Jimenez's handling of a character with an anxiety disorder. I felt like it did 2 things. One, anyone who experiences anxiety on a regular basis, I feel like they're going to feel seen in the pages of this book. I also think this is going to be an incredible read for anyone who doesn't really understand people who deal with anxiety. It really helps to create a sense of empathy. So I really enjoyed that about the book. I loved seeing Jacob and Bree slowly go from enemies to friends and then from friends to lovers. It was an extreme extremely slow burn, they start to bond over letters that they pass to one another, which is why the title is called Yours Truly. It was so adorable seeing them sort of fall for one another via post-it note and handwritten letters that then become Instagram messages and phone calls, and it was just so sweet. Now, Jacob is also dealing with the fact that his ex is marrying his brother. So Bree agrees to pretend to date him in order to make it seem like he is absolutely fine with his brother moving on with his ex. And fake dating becomes real as time goes on. Trigger warnings include miscarriage and cheating. I immensely enjoyed this, and I'm really hoping for another book in the series so we can follow these characters. Earlier in February, I read The American Roommate Experiment, which was so hot that I decided to look for the first book in the series, which was The Spanish Love Deception. I got to listen to it thanks to my library, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one, hence the 4.5 stars. We have Lena, who is driven crazy by her co-worker Aaron. Aaron really, though, carries quite the torch for her, but he's a little introverted. They actually wind up needing each other. So again, we need to do some fake dating in this book. Lena's sister is going to be getting married, and the best man is Lena's ex. Well, Lena can't stand the idea of going to this wedding alone. So Aaron offers to join her and pretend to be her boyfriend, and she's confused as to why, until he says, well, I actually need you for an event as well. So she helps him out, pretends to be his date for an event, and then he actually flies all the way to Spain with her. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed his slow seduction. This was another yummy book by Elena Armas. The only thing I didn't love was just how alpha Aaron is. So if you're into alpha guys, you're gonna love this. I loved watching him knock down her walls and help convince her that he was the only thing she needed. I was thoroughly convinced as well. It was spicy. It was fun. I loved seeing this enemies to lovers fake dating book, and I only wish that I had read these in order, but I'm really glad that I read both of the books in this series. So here comes a 4-star, Calm by Ruby Dixon. It is book 7.5 in the Ice Planet Barbarians series. This book is anything but calm, honestly. Maylak, who is the community's healer, keeps going around because she feels that something's off. She knows that something's wrong. She doesn't know what it is. It was a nice way to sort of see what everybody was up to, and it's very much left at a cliffhanger. Maylak does have her baby, and Heshram, her husband or mate, he takes good care of her before and after, which of course we love to see with these cinnamon roll heroes. There was a short story tacked onto the end of this novella, which was sort of fun. It was called Moving Day, in which Farley helps Maddie move in with Asha. And Farley is the only sunny personality in this story. Poor Asha and Maddie are grumpy grumps, and they are both in need of some love and fun and sense of community, but we know it will be coming at some point soon. Let's talk about my 3-star book, The Duke Is Mine. I didn't know what to do with this, honestly. This was another one that had me crying in like the sink. I'm just crying randomly in my kitchen, thanks to the books I read in the past couple weeks. I loved some of this book. I hated some of this book. So I decided to go with a 3 because it seemed like it was in the middle. I don't even know where to start. We have Olivia. She's betrothed to someone 5 years her junior who everybody makes fun of. It turns out he's special needs, and they share an extremely unfortunate love scene in the beginning. It was so uncomfortable, and Eloisa James seems to be really interested in doing unfortunate, disturbing love scenes. I don't think I've ever read any other author who's like, you know what, let's do a love scene and let's make it really uncomfortable. Just like, why? It was just ugh. I mean, I saw some people on Goodreads just DNF'd it, I think, at that point, and I was considering it, but some of my favorite booktubers talked about how wonderful Olivia was to this character. So I was like, okay, I've already read so much of the series. Let me see how this plays out. Well, I'm kind of glad that I kept reading, kind of not. Here's the thing. Once she discovers that he had had an issue during birth that left him special needs, she changes her tune completely. She understands him better. She respects him to death. And when she ends up falling in love against her wishes to another gentleman named Quinn, who is supposed to be betrothed to her sister, Olivia doesn't want to go through with her feelings because she wants to be true to Rupert. She and Rupert have been betrothed since they were born. They have no interest in one another. Rupert honestly only cares about his dog. There were scenes in this that really helped me hope for humanity. The way that Olivia turns it around and loves, cares, and respects Rupert was beautiful. The way Quinn also comes to Rupert's aid and becomes a better man because he wants to be more like Rupert. The respect that people had for him. There's a scene where Rupert decides to go to battle. Everyone thought that his company would fail, and they end up being so valiant. And people that were in his company, they were all the cast-offs. All of these people that no one believed in them, and Rupert believed in them. And I could go into it more, but one, I'll start crying, and no one wants that. And two, if you ever choose to read this, you might not want me to spoil the whole thing for you. Although I don't know if you want to read this. Anyway, this is terrible. My point is, I loved what the author did for this character and just the love and respect that was given to him. The love between Olivia and Quinn was nice, but again, I had trouble with this. Also, Eloisa James chooses to kill off one of the characters, and I couldn't believe that she did that. I was like, oh really? Eloisa James, this is how you're gonna play it? I've never read a historical romance that has a very highly featured secondary character getting killed off. Couldn't believe she chose to go there. So much of this book really shined. A lot of it stunk. So I don't even know if 3 stars is the way to go. I mean, this was just interesting. So another one of my arcs in February was the Deja Glitch, which I wound up giving 2 stars. I was ultimately really disappointed with this. In fact, I'll link my Try a Chapter challenge for time travel romance above if you want to see more. I was really excited about this book based on the premise, and the first chapter was super strong. It was about a woman who realizes that she's been living the same day for months thanks to a gentleman who is all kinds of swoon worthy. They're in a time loop, and he believes the only way that they can get out of it is to fall in love with one another. So that's how the story is sold. There's no time travel. It's basically set over the course of one day, and he's basically telling her what it's like to have experienced a time loop. For a huge majority of the book, he is either completely missing from the story or she's just very wary and distrustful of him. So it wasn't until like the last 90% that they're back together dealing with the time loop, falling for one another. So the ending was good, but a lot of it was about the time loop that they've experienced that maybe all of us could experience in our lives when we go through our day-to-day, the rituals that we have that are empty, and interactions that we have with our families, or the jobs that we choose to stay put in. I don't know if that's sort of an allegory, like the author's just sort of trying to make that point of you need to get out of your rut, whether you're in a magical time loop or not. So I appreciated that, but ultimately I didn't find this to be very romantic. It wasn't fun time travel. I don't feel like it was the story that I was sold. It was interesting though, so I did give it 2 stars. So now to my last one. It's another 2 stars. It's book 4 of Eloisa James's fairy tale series. It's funny how people always tell me Eloisa James is a hit or a miss, and I am finding that to be absolutely true. This one was another miss for me. This is based on The Ugly Duckling, and unfortunately our heroine is considered ugly and she never really comes out of it. Even towards the end of the book, one of the guests at a party is like, and she's still ugly. I'm like, great. So she's able to dress herself well. She makes a name for herself in business and fashion, but apparently some people still consider her ugly, which is like, why are we doing this? This again had many awkward scenes, awkward love scenes. This is the 2nd book in a row where the gentleman can't seem to pull off the act in the beginning, and like, why are we participating in this again? In fact, the groom is so distraught at the fact that he can't consummate the marriage that he leaves and becomes a pirate, which I was like, what? I mean, this book was insane. In fact, her name is Theo and he calls her Daisy throughout the book, and it's not even fun. She hates it. And what's funny is, I'll tell you this, a little sneak peek to the next book in this series. The main character again is not willing or able to call the heroine by her name, and it annoys them. It's not endearing. Call the heroines by their names, please. I don't understand. Anyway, I tell you, this book, it was even worse because apparently Theo, the girl, and James, the guy, they were raised as brother and sister. James's father says, look, I need her money, so I need you to marry her because I've kind of already stolen from her. So go ahead and marry her, and then I can have the rest of the money. So James is like, I'm not going to do that, but I will do that. So James and Theo decide, oh wait, we are attracted to each other all of a sudden. Let's get married. Then she discovers that he married her for her money. It's just a mess. I don't know. I don't even know. Should I have given it 2 stars? I mean, the pirate twist was very interesting. Pilot twist would have been even more interesting in Regency period. But anyway, he comes back, he seduces her, they fall back in love. There's a nice ending years later when they have their children, which was sweet. This book, I don't understand. Well, those were the 11 books I read in the second half of February. If you want to see the books I read in the first half, I've got that linked right there. I'm loving the books I'm reading in March, and I can't wait to share those with you in a couple of weeks. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is that you're reading, no matter how many stars you give it. Until next time, thanks so much. Take care. Bye.